Good morning. So today is our second day of reading A Long Walk to Water. And I wanted to go back to what you guys created yesterday in your reader's notebook because we need to finish chapter one. I wanted to share what I have in mind. So I was going to give you guys a sneak peek into my reader's notebook. So looking at Southern Sudan in 2008 and then in 1985, in Southern Sudan, that storyline in 2008, which is more recent, it's a story about a little girl named Nya and how she's going to the water hole twice a day. I picked out that it was a very hot environment and that the water jug is very heavy for her. So that's what I know about her so far. For the other main character for the storyline of 1985 is Salva, and he's currently in school daydreaming. He only goes half of the time because he has to do things in his village, but he's very, very smart. Um, and then he kind of talks a little bit about village life and how it has a dry and a wet season. And then I noticed that in this particular area, girls don't go to school. They learn what to do from their moms at home. And then he talked a little bit about cows and how they equal wealth. And that's where we've gotten so far in the story. So I wanted us to jump back in. So if you would, pull out your reader's notebook and make sure that you have your stuff from yesterday because you're going to continue to write some things down about Salva as you learn about those as I continue to read and you follow along with me. And we're going to pick up on page uh, three, actually, excuse me, page four, where we had a break in time. And you can tell that you had a break in time because if you look where it says at the bottom of the page how delicious those bites were, there's a larger gap right there, which shows us, authors use that to show us that there's a break in time. Okay, so here we go. Salva swallowed and turned his eyes back toward the teacher. He wished he hadn't recalled those times because the memories made him hungry. Milk. When he got home, he would have a bowl of fresh milk, which would keep his belly full until supper time. He knew just how it would be. His mother would rise from her work, grinding meal, and walk around to the side of the house that faced the road. She would shade her eyes with one hand, searching for him. From far off, he would see her bright orange headscarf, and he would raise his arm in greeting. By the time he reached the house, she would have gone inside to get his bowl of milk ready for him. Crack! The noise had come from outside. Was it a gunshot or just a car backfiring? The teacher stopped for a moment. Every head in the room turned toward the window. Guys, I want you guys to picture this. All right, they're in class, he's daydreaming, then all of a sudden, he hears this big crack noise. It sounds like gunshot. Nothing. Silence. The teacher cleared his throat, which drew the boys' attention to the front of the room. He continued the lesson from where he had left off, and then, crack, pop, 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 crack, ah, gunfire. Everyone down, the teacher shouted. Some of the boys moved at once, ducking their heads and hunching over. Others sat frozen, their eyes mouths open wide. Salva covered his head with his hands and looked from side to side in panic. The teacher edged his way along the wall to the window. He took a quick peek outside. The gunfire had stopped, but now people were shouting and running. Go, quickly, all of you, the teacher said, his voice low and urgent. Into the bush, do you hear me? Not home. Don't run home. Ooh. They will be going into the villages. Stay away from the villages. Run into the bush. He went to the door and looked out again. Go, all of you, now. The war had started 2 years earlier. Salva did not understand much about it, but he knew that rebels from the southern part of Sudan, where he and his family lived, were fighting against the government, which was based in the north. Most of the people who lived in the north were Muslim, and the government wanted all of the Sudan to become a Muslim country, a place where the beliefs of Islam were followed. But the people in the south were of different religions and did not want to be forced to practice Islam. They began fighting for independence from the north. The fighting was scattered all around southern Sudan, and now the war had come to where Salva lived. The boys scrambled to their feet. Some of them were crying. The teacher began hurrying the students out the door. Salva was near the end of the line. He felt his heart beating so hard that its pulse pounded in his throat and ears. He wanted to shout, "I need to go home! I must go home!" But the words were blocked by the wild thumping in his throat. When he got to the door, he looked out. Everyone was running, men, children, women carrying babies. The air was full of dust that had been kicked up by all those running feet. Some of the men were shouting and waving guns. Salva saw all this with one glance. Then he was running too, running as hard as he could into the bush, away from home. That's the end of chapter 2. So, what I'd like for you all to do is I'd like for you to go ahead and write, think about how you would summarize before we write, how you would summarize what happened in both of these plots. What do you know about the Southern Sudan of 2008, the Nya story, which was real short? And then what do you know already about Salva and what's happened in his story of 1985? So I want you to turn and talk to a partner and talk through what you've read in this chapter. And then I'm going to give you a few minutes in your reader's notebook on the next clean sheet. I want you to write a summary of what happened in chapter 1. So I want you to put the title chapter 1 and start with your summary. Okay, do that now.